Hello and welcome back to Tallboy Radio. This is your host, Andy Ryan. We're doing one on TV shows, so I thought I'll head this one up, and so I've done my yearly quota. So before we start though, should we just say what we're drinking and introduce yourselves? Who wants to go first?
Go on, Andy, you go first.
Go on, dude. Cheers. It's like change of plan, actually. I'd nipped out today and I picked this one up. This wasn't supposed to be for today, but I tell you what, it was so good. I had to do it. And plus, I knew one of the ingredients was going to really annoy Gaz. So it's Brewdog Mallow Laser Quest. So it's a pink marshmallow. I think it's pink marshmallow, isn't it? And pineapple. And taking a tip from the Scottish Alchemists when they were on, you can taste it on the lips, and that's where you can taste the marshmallow. I tell you what, dude, it is a good one. If you like a hazy IPA, you'll enjoy this.
Is it quite sweet, or is it like a little aftertaste?
It's sweet on the lips, just like me. Yeah, we should probably edit that out. But no, it's not too sweet actually, but because the pineapple gives it the nice tang. It's like probably months ago now, I had the Pangean one. And that was a pineapple IPA. And I tell you what, this is every bit as good as that one. It's an absolute humdinger. I remember you
talking about that Pangean one, yeah. So, to be fair, pineapple should only ever be eaten as a piece of fruit. Should never be in beer. Should never be on pizza. Should never be on any other food whatsoever.
What about cheese? With a bit of cheese.
On
a stick.
On a stick.
80s parties.
Oh, he's bringing it back around already.
In memory of an episode that happened in the Anne Ryan household, I'm drinking Leffe. And for those of you that don't know, there was a little bit of an episode with a spilt beer. So I'm drinking Leffe out of TBR merch. And just in case that runs out, I do have a backup.
Yeah. So
we'll wait and see whether that bad boy gets drunk as well. So, looking forward to this. Loved the 80s TV. So yeah, let's see where this goes.
Cool. I'm on the old stout.
Yeah,
and it's heavy, and it's dark, in a TBR glass for once as well. Ooh.
Yeah, nice bit. What percentage is that?
5, something like 5.4. Oatmeal stout.
Nice, but yeah, it's a heavy one, an oatmeal stout.
So I'll be nodding off during this episode. So I don't know where to start with this one. I know, like, when I thought of the episode and we discussed it, I was like, what should we talk about, blah, blah, blah. And it just sort of brought back so many memories of being... The 80s was a good decade, but being born in that decade and not really knowing much, I only remember like stuff towards the end of that decade. So, like going to my grandma's, for example, and watching TV in the afternoons, and because I was always surrounded by adults, I've got a lot of the adult, not a bit of blue. But,
I was about to say, where's this going?
Hold on, that's a whole
afternoon
different conversation.
TV shows. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. Should we just mention the show and talk about it, or?
Yeah, just jump in.
Go for it, dude. Which one do you want to go with?
Oh God, I've got loads. When I was proper buzzing for this episode, like when Andy sort of said, "Oh, we're going to do like 80s TV," I was like, "Yes." I've sort of split mine up into what I maybe sort of easy watching drama, and then a couple of sort of game shows, and then I've got a couple of sort of cartoons and that sort of stuff. The game stuff that I remember watching when obviously mum and dad, you'd sit and you'd watch it, and like some of the TV shows you'd sit with your mum and dad and watch it, but the cartoons were brilliant. And I remember sort of, racing home from school and stuff. I've got to get back because this is on or that's on. It's just proper golden age of TV, really. So I'm gonna throw a sort of cartoon out there. Growing up, and I am a geek, and obviously we had a geeking episode, so I'm going to throw out Dungeons and Dragons as the sort of as a I loved that cartoon, absolutely loved it, and I remember thinking, obviously then growing up geeking, I was like, Yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to be Bobby the Barbarian or Eric the Viking or whatever. Or it's like I didn't want to be Uni.
Yeah, he beat me to it.
Yeah, you see, I could see you leaning in then. But I was like, that for me, that was brilliant. One of the just classic car, and they didn't make many, I don't think, and I think it only ran for, I don't know, but maybe a year or so. So it shows you how little sort of episodes there were.
The world wasn't ready for nerds at that time, I think.
Well, yeah, maybe geeks were not nerds, or whichever one you are. I don't care. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons for me was brilliant. I loved that cartoon. So,
I don't really remember it.
Oh, mate, honestly, they got on. There were these like friends, and they got on like a fairground ride, and then effectively they then got teleported into this sort of weird sort of Dungeons and Dragons world, and they became these characters. And there was Bobby the Barbarian who carried a club around. You got Eric the Viking. There was Sheila the acrobat, was there, or something? There was Presto was a magician and stuff. So. And they met this little bald guy called Dungeon Master, and he sort of tried to show them the way home. There's a couple of bad guys in it. There was Venger, who was like a really bad guy and stuff. Honestly, with seriously no notes whatsoever made. I remember it.
I remember some of those characters. I don't remember all of them, but yeah.
I might have missed one because there was another female character, but I can't for the life of me remember what her name was. Yeah, the green. Yeah, she got like a green cape on. She got like what was her name? Anyway, I can't remember.
Was it something like Scouts or something like that? I don't know.
I can't remember. But Sheila was the acrobat and stuff. I remember that. But yeah, that cartoon was brilliant. Absolutely loved that. Just it was proper takes me back. It's brilliant.
It was an absolute. Funny enough, that made my list as well. Andy, I'm shocked you haven't seen that one, dude.
I thought you did. It don't spring to memory. I can picture like a title screen, but yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, that's one to get it. That's one to get on YouTube later, dude.
Yeah, classic. Go on then, Ad. What was obviously that made your list, so I apologise for stealing maybe a bit of thunder or whatever, but
well, do you want me? What do you want? Do you want another cartoon? Do you want another cartoon?
Yeah, I don't know. Andy's leading. I don't know. I'm sort of stealing his thunder here.
Yeah. Well, I mean that. I think it's evident how well loved Gaz liked that show. So there's a show in the kids era, should we say?
Yeah. Well,
genre.
There's one for me which I used to watch, and it was on fairly early on a Saturday morning. Muppet Babies. Do you remember the Muppet Babies? Rolf on the piano, Kermit, and Miss Piggy, but all done. And it was a cartoon. Do you remember this one, Andy?
No.
Oh dear Lord!
I remember.
I know the Muppets.
It was basically there was no real premise for anything that actually happened. They all just lived in some kind of nursery. I don't know if they were supposed to be toys or something in Jim Henson's bedroom. But they didn't really do anything each week. They just fall out. He had Scooter, and and all the characters were there, but they were cartoon versions of themselves and done as babies. And it had so much charm, and it was so harmless. And that's one thing I do enjoy out of a cartoon. I do enjoy, although I do like the ones with a little bit of violence in it. I do like the ones which have got plenty of charm as well. And that had bagfuls of it. And that again, that was 80s, and I think it only ran for a couple of seasons. They have recently brought it back though on Nick Jr. and it was awful.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd been redone, and it's obviously redone for an era that is obviously it's not aimed at 47-year-old men. Yeah. Funnily enough, and it's a real shame. It is a real shame because I think when you bring something back like that, it spoils it for me a little bit. But then I'm a good Bill.
I know. I do remember. Muppet. It didn't make my list. There's a couple of us that I'll go through the cartoons I got on my list, and then obviously I'll hand it back to Andy. So I had Masters of the Universe, which is like He-Man and Man at Arms and all that. So that was brilliant. There's one perhaps slightly less well known was the Raccoons. You got Cyril Sneer, the Raccoons. That was brilliant. That was.
I know
proper, just Cyril Sneer is this like big I suppose businessman raccoon. He was going to take over everything. He was going to destroy the forest and all that. And it was I don't remember any of the other characters really, but I remember that. And then Fraggle Rock.
I just wrote that down now.
like Fraggle Rock. Like seriously,
Yeah.
like that was amazing. And so you got, was it like Red? You had Gobo, Uncle Travelling Mac. You had those little workmen called the Doozers, and they
The Doozers, yeah.
Oh, mate.
I love the Doozers. Actually, do you know when we were at primary school, we had we had an assignment in class. And it was obviously it's crafting, so you just piddle around here. And we had to make a hand puppet, and I can remember my pride and joy. Literally, the only one thing I achieved in primary school is I made the trash heap as a with little rubbish and everything stuck to it. Honestly, in my mind, it looked just like it. Probably, if I saw it now, it'd be like, oh dear Lord, that's embarrassing.
But yeah, no Fraggle, and they were Sprocket. So obviously they introduced you Sprocket the dog and stuff. It just brilliant. I remember that. And then the only other one that I got rid of was Thundercats. That was class. That, like, growing up, like Lion-O and Chitara and Panthro, and again, absolutely no notes whatsoever on any of these at all. I just remember them. It just a golden age. I mean, I could have gone on. I think Mysterious Cities of Gold might have been the 80s. It might have snuck into it, but just brilliant. So yeah, they were my cartoons. So I had Dungeons and Dragons, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, Raccoons, Fraggle Rock. They were my just cartoons growing up. They were brilliant.
Raccoons, I loved Raccoons. That was again. It was another one with bagfuls of chocolate. And if I remember correctly, this was maybe I don't want to steal thunder from later, but I'm pretty sure it was narrated by, I think it was Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Really? I didn't know that.
Funny feeling it was narrated by him. Now I could be wrong on that one, but yeah, I loved that one. The only other one I'll add to it before we go back to Andy, dude, before we steal all your stuff. Trapdoor. Do you remember Trapdoor? That only had like.
Don't you open that trapdoor, because there's something down there.
That's right. Yeah, Bones and Drut and.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
wow.
That was genius. It was made out of Play-Doh. Probably someone did it on the bloody lunch break because it was pretty low grade quality stuff.
It was almost like a precursor to. I don't know. It's a precursor to, like, because obviously you got Morph, which was that 80s, I don't know, but so you got, but almost, it was almost a bit like stop frame animation. So obviously it was all Play-Doh, so it was like it literally was it filmed as like stop frame animation or whatever. So
Andy, when we talk about Morph, what was his mate called? What was his Morph's mate called? Can you remember him? I can't remember his name, but literally, if you've ever seen Andy without a beard, spitting image. Do you remember that time, dude? You shaved your beard off.
No, I've blocked out of my head.
Guess he's going to choke on his beard. Honestly, dude, he shaved his beard off, and he obviously had the bald head. I'm sure I shared a picture on Twitter somewhere. It was absolutely spitting image of Morph, mate.
Chaz,
that's that lad.
That's more like Chaz.
I can't picture Andy without a beard, but when I think, I've never seen Andy without a beard, but so when you look at it, you think, actually, yeah, absolutely spitting image.
Because it's only my beard that has a colour to it. My eyebrows don't. And then, like, I had no hair on my head, so it's just like I was just a set of eyes and teeth.
Oh no, brilliant.
I'll be wearing a wig here. If I have to, like, shave my beard off, I'll just get a fake beard. I'm not going through that again. No.
But no, I remember sort of Trapdoor. That was decent. That was good. Dude, one that I didn't get on my list that I actually thought about was Teenage Mutant Ninja Hero Turtles, which was an 80s, and that was like obviously Donatello, Raphael, and there were Michelangelo, and you got Splinter and stuff. So that was one that I sort of watched, but it didn't massively make my list. It's just one I've just thought of then. So
I know Craig. Well, that's another one we could have mentioned actually. For one of Craig's role playing games, he was a big fan of Turtles role playing game, wasn't
he? Yeah, absolutely. Andy, go on. What were your? Have you got any cartoons then? What's on your?
Fraggle Rock was on there. I put the Jetsons as well.
Jetsons, was that 80s?
Yeah,
I don't know. Because I've had to cross a lot off the list.
I'll check, but
I'd have said I mean, don't get me wrong, I will have watched it in the 80s myself. But again, then though, that's I'm interrupting Andy, so I apologise for this. But a lot of the stuff I loved were repeats that were shown in the 80s. I used to love watching the old black and white films like Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, The Three Stooges, that kind of stuff. Harold Lloyd, and you just don't see that stuff on TV anymore. And I don't get it because it was entertaining.
Originally aired in prime time, 62 to 63, and then new episodes were produced from 85 to 87 as part of the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera. So, yeah.
There you go.
Good shout, that is, kid.
Yeah.
Another one was Danger Mouse as well.
Oh, yeah.
I remember watching it all the time, but Amy's Mrs. Auntie used to do like the drawings and stuff for it. So
really,
yeah, I think I can't remember exactly what she did, but
that is a shout.
That is.
I can't believe how many years I've known you, and that's the first time I'm hearing this information.
And her son Ryan did the voice of some like little kid as well. Not in that, in another TV show.
Banana Man or something like
that. I was going to mention Banana Man.
I'm sorry.
Was his name? Was his name Eric?
Yeah.
Was it right? Okay.
I do, Eric. I can't remember the rest of it.
It's a gem.
Brilliant. They were just good times. Proper good times.
That's a great bit of trivia you've held back from us all these years, Andrew. Gee whiz.
I love it. I just don't know. Just remembered now. My kids' TV show wasn't that long of a list of it. It was just Jetsons. I wrote Fraggle Rock down just so when you're talking earlier, and Danger Mouse. Simpsons, obviously.
Yeah,
you
actually you do forget how long that's been.
That must have been quite late 80s, though. I'd have thought, even though it's been going a good long while.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's weird because
89, 17th of December.
That's there you go. Just snuck in there.
You see, I don't remember when it first came out. So watching it, and I sort of thought, oh, what's all the fuss? And then obviously as the episodes rolled on, and it's only really later that I went back and sort of started watching them and actually proper appreciate what the Simpsons was about, because there's so many different. It appeals to like an adult audience as well as kids, because kids watch it as a cartoon, but then there's so many like innuendos and stuff that Homer does, and you're like, oh, sort of thing.
You can say that about all the other kids shows, couldn't you? Like Rainbow and all that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there's that famous episode that whether it's because I read that it went out and it aired, but then I also read that there was a very famous one with loads of innuendos that it actually is filmed as a birthday present to a cameraman that filmed on the show, and basically they did it so it didn't actually go out as an episode, but they did it for him as part of a and obviously it's a relatively clean podcast, so I won't go into some of the innuendos and stuff that they made, but if you watch
Zippy and George plucking their twangers,
and
playing
with
play with my ball.
Yeah,
that sounded a bit sinister. And then you got sound like Zippy at all.
Was it Bungle the Bear that basically walked around all day with not a stitch on, and then decided to get in bed and put his pajamas on? It's like, so why are you walking around all day with nought on then, kid? So wow, Jeffrey and then Rod, Jane and Freddie and stuff like that. Yeah, brilliant.
So crazy TV shows. Then I wonder whether they were ever like not filtered, but I think now you have to like go through the script and make sure there's nothing sinister in it. You know what I mean? Like, make it PC. Whereas back then, you think it was just like, this will be funny. The kids will love this.
Was it more? Was it more? I suppose obviously it's 70s, absolutely no PC whatsoever, was it? So I'm not sure when Rainbow. I definitely think it was obviously 80s, but Rod, Jane and Freddie, some of the songs that they used to play, you'd be like, that wouldn't pass these days, would it? So
when they were doing like LSD and stuff like that as well, a lot of the writers.
They would explain a lot.
It probably does explain a lot, yeah.
Mind you say that, guys. You were talking about Thundercats, and if you think about the female Thundercats in there, what it did to young lads like us with our hormones running wild back then. Nowadays, I mean, let's face it, those characters were highly sexualized. That would upset a lot of people, wouldn't it? Nowadays, I'm not saying.
Yeah, you wouldn't get away with it now, would you?
No, that's a bloody shame, to be honest with you. Kids need to see sexualized big cats on TV.
I wondered where you were going with that comment. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. No. But I just think, you know what I mean? Bloody hell, they don't take it in. At that age, you didn't take it in, did you? You know what I mean? You'd stare at them for a while. I think, I enjoyed that cartoon, but you didn't really know why. I don't know. Maybe kids are a bit more savvy these days than perhaps we were.
Maybe.
Or still am.
Maybe. But yeah, no. That was one that I look more at the male characters of the cartoon. Just thinking like Lino and
He-Man in his skimpy shorts.
I tell you what, I used to like the He-Man like years ago, but so many memes of it now. Like, there's a page called the Grumpy Skeletor, and it would just do a picture and say like He-Man's being a bit of a today, and it like shows a picture of him like holding a hammer or something dead weird. Like,
there's one good. On I think there's a Twitter parody account, and I think it's like is it like Evil or Grumpy Skeletor or whatever. So I think he every now and then he might post, but no, so they were my cartoons for the 80s, but so many memories there. Just like I say, running home for school or Saturday morning or whatever it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
When I started doing a list, I started with all the stuff in the afternoon, like so moving on from innuendos and stuff. Baywatch.
You see, I would burst into the song, the theme tune to that song as well, but I won't embarrass my own singing voice. But yeah, that wasn't on my list. But then it's something that Jenny, my wife, sort of mentioned. And I was like, oh yeah, it was, because that was the 80s. And I was like, no way. The Hoff.
Yeah, Hoff, legend.
I remember like loads of TV shows at the time were saying, did everyone have to run in slow motion for like the intro? It's like, I was like 4 or something. I was like, are you stupid? What are you talking about, Willis?
Oh, now there's another one.
Now there is another one. I completely forgot about that. But no, I remember watching Baywatch. Obviously, we used to still sit and watch it and stuff. And I don't know, maybe Big Ray was watching it for the same reason I was, but
I suspect so. No, Big Ray.
You know what I mean? But yeah,
prime time when that was on, though, wasn't it? It was like was it Airwolf 18 that Bullseye Airwolf.
What was his name?
I can't remember.
I can't remember the guy.
I want to say Michael. No, that was. Oh no, that was Night Rider, which actually I do have on my list.
But
we got Street Hawk.
Street Hawk.
Was that a guy on a bike as well?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and his bike can take turns.
Bike used to wear like 1,000 mile an hour, and he used to just take like 90-degree turns. You're like, yeah, right, come on. But no, I mean, for me, there's a couple of proper sort of just standout 80s series. And growing up, and I'd sort of mentioned it, and he mentioned it actually when I came into the room pre-podcast. I was sort of singing the theme tune. So Dukes of Hazzard for me was just class. So for me, Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, just proper archetypal 80s, great TV. Loved both of those shows. Absolutely loved them.
I always seem to miss Dukes of Hazzard. I don't know why. I don't know whether because I never used to control TV at that age. It was just like I'd just sit there watching whatever's put on. I'm sure something else was on at the same time. That's why we didn't watch it.
I tell you what, whatever it wasn't as good. No. I'll watch that now. And it's still entertaining.
Bo, Luke, and Daisy. Yeah. Bo, Luke, Daisy.
Again, do you know what I mean? Your young mind was whisked away to somewhere in I don't know whichever state it was. I know it was in Hazzard County, but I don't know which state it was. I guess like Virginia or somewhere. Do
you know what I was racking? I was racking my brains to try and think of an. So you got Boss Hogg.
Yeah.
And then was it Roscoe P. Coltrane? Was that what his name?
Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Exactly. I was trying to remember what his name, and I got it as Roscoe P. Coltrane. But then I thought, is that right or not? I don't know. No, brilliant. And obviously the general lead. I mean, the car was just
beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, but the what I was reminiscing loads, and what seemed to make this sort of brought back memories was that they'd have a car chase on various streets, and then whenever they went off road, they seemed to always chase around the same bit of track.
Yeah.
So it was almost like they just got mocked up this like dirt track where they have a car chase, but it was always seemed as like a bit of a figure of eight, and it didn't matter what episode they were in. They always ended up there. They just used to chase around. It's brilliant.
And they trashed so many Dodge Chargers. I forget where I heard it. It might have been on the Tiddy and Charlie show when they talked about it on there. That literally got to the point where like the producers were literally just driving around offering to buy 69 Dodge Chargers off people. Like if they see it on a drive, it's like, will you sell us that? Because we've trashed so many. They literally they do 2 or 3 like an episode. 23 episodes in a season. I don't know how many seasons there were, but they smashed up a whole load of Dodge Chargers. It's shocking, really. You do absolute travesty for that car.
But yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, that was. There's Uncle Jesse as well. Just brilliant, just brilliant TV. As you said, sort of a few moments ago, just sort of in a way harmless, just good, easy, no sort of PC, no qualms, no nothing. These days, you've got to be careful of this. You've got to be careful of this. It was just a program you could just sit down and enjoy.
Well, just think about all the fuss there's been about the Confederate flag and actually what it stands for. And that was a TV show where the car, which was the star of the show, the real star of the show was the car. It was painted on the top of the bloody roof, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no. Do you remember the Dukes of Hazzard, Andy, or not? Is it literally something just... I mean, I know you said you didn't really, but do you actually remember it being a sort of a thing that everybody watched?
Yeah. I've watched a couple of episodes when I was younger and all that. Yeah. And obviously it's car chasing and stuff, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, car chase is brilliant.
And the other one you mentioned there was the A-Team. Man, that 5:35 on a Saturday, the A-Team. I tell you what, I wasn't missing that. That was one of those things. Everybody round the TV, your dinner's ready. I don't give a shit. I'm watching the A-Team. I'll let it go cold.
Was it in 1978 or whatever, 1979, a crack commando squad where somebody sort of federal court committed of a crime they didn't commit. They subsequently fled to Los Angeles underground, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team, or words to that effect. And then you got the thing coming across. You got the bullet holes, and you went across it. Just brilliant. I do have one gripe with the A-Team though, which was, well, actually, to be fair, there's a couple. But Mr. T driving the van, and he's effectively driving down the highway, and he's like this.
It's loose steering.
It's like, dude,
dude,
you drive like that down the highway, the cops are going to be following you every day of the week.
To be fair, they were wanted by the police, as I understand it. Anyway, they had to skin out at the end of every single episode just in case Colonel Decker took them back to the army.
And just one other thing, when you went through like the A-Team, they always used to go up against these like sort of little factions of like bad guys here, but they were the worst shots in the world. Like nobody ever died in that program. You'd have like a mass gunfight, and like nobody died. And then you'd have like a mass car pile up, and they'd all come out going, "Oh."
Dude, but like I said, it's 5:30 on a Saturday. You can't be showing bodies strewn across the highway. You know what I mean? It would have been a very different show.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look back, and obviously back in the day, nobody ever thought about it and was worried about it. But it was just harmless fun, right? It's just a harmless, decent TV program. Just brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Rights being wronged as well. It was always it had a good moral idea behind it.
It's like some sort of big company wants to buy out a farm or whatever, and this guy like didn't have the money, but then all of a sudden the A-Team arrived, and they'd go into this guy's farmyard and go in with a standard ute and come out with like a 50-foot armor-plated tank or whatever. Mr. T, now that guy needs to be employed by the army because he can make anything out of anything. That guy, he's mint. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, that was a great with it when they always like, and then the movie oh yes, they're going to build.
Just waiting for what came out. You're like, okay, he's going to open the door. What's going to come out? And you're like, well, what is it? Brilliant, loved it.
All the characters are pretty good, weren't they? Like Mr. T obviously stands out, proper like Murdoch and Face.
Howling Mad Murdoch, brilliant.
I quite like the remake film as well. I don't know. With Bradley Cooper in it, and
not sure for me.
Going back to the remake film, and actually the Dukes of Hazzard one with Johnny Knoxville and I forget his name. It's Sean William Scott. Yeah. That one's not too bad actually. Actually, that is quite enjoyable. I mean, Willie Nelson as Uncle Jesse. Do you know what I mean? There's some good characters in that. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's not a patch in the original TV series, but no, I've watched the A-Team one, and it
not for me.
Yeah, you lose. I think it lost a little bit of the charm and a little bit of the innocence. You know, with those characters, George Peppard, Dwight Schultz, who played Dirk Benedict was
Dirk Benedict.
Face
was Face.
Mr. T is B.A. Baracus, bad attitude Baracus. What a great
brilliant. Just again, just I say harmless, but I mean, I've got loads on my list of stuff I could. We could do podcast after podcast on this. So
I'll tell you another one that as soon as I started the list, it was on there was Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap.
Oh right, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know when that started or anything. I didn't even Google dates. I was just like, bang, straight on the list. I used to love that show.
Do you know that was one I watched, and I always quite liked the idea of it, but I probably never gave it the attention it deserved. I've not watched too many of them.
It's something not bypassed me. Obviously, and you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. But it wasn't one that I massively watched. I have to admit. So
it was one where you could literally do it forever. You know what I mean? It's that open of a source sort of thing. Like there's one episode I remember. He just wakes up in some random person's body, doesn't he? Then he's got to like change a wrong in their life, and then he moves on to the next person. And I always remember this one. He's like some war veteran. He went into his body and he had no legs. So then he just gets up and he's walking around. And then cause it's like the 80s. It was just like really bad, like green screen and stuff like that. It's just funny. You just see this guy hovering there.
Quality. Basically, that is Quantum Leap was the Tallboy Radio podcast of the day, because each week it'd be something different. You know what I mean? Last week comedy, this week 80s TV.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Where we land next week, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I'm gonna sort of throw a couple more sort of programs out there, and again, I love these. So I'm gonna throw out Miami Vice, and I'm gonna throw out Magnum PI.
Oh yes.
Because again. There's a car theme in there, but obviously, so Magnum was fantastic, and then the Fall Guy, just
Colt Seavers,
classic TV.
And whatever happened to people singing the theme tune? Do you know what I mean? Because he sang the theme tune to that, didn't he? It was great. At that show, I remember watching that when I was at primary school. I wanted to be a stuntman when I grew up.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I ain't got the knees for it now. So it's it's one of those dreams I've had to let fall to the wayside. But yeah, I love that show. I love that show.
It was genuinely brilliant.
And TJ Hooker, did you get that one down?
Well, it's funny because I never really watched it. Obviously, it was sort of William Shatner. I never massively watched it. But it when I was sort of going through in my mind, I thought, does it go on the list? I thought. For some people, I can understand why it would, but for me, I never really watched it, so I can't put it on my list because, as I say, it wasn't something that I sort of enjoyed. But yeah, obviously, you look at William Shatner, and when you talk about people who sing their own theme tunes, he's a bit of a crooner in his day, and so.
Wow, I'm not sure what you call him. What he did was crooning, but gee whiz, he'd had a pop at it. God bless him. But I'll give you someone else that was in TJ Hooker as well, dude. Heather Lotley.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If that didn't inspire you to watch the show.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes. Yeah. Again, back in the day, you were like, yeah. Okay, I can understand why people might watch that. Well, it's weird because Magnum. I don't know whether my mum, God rest her soul, so I think I had a bit of a thing for Tom Selleck back in the day, something. But we were always like, Magnum's on. He's like, oh right, okay, I'm not that bothered. No, Magnum's on. You're watching this, and obviously, kids these days don't realise the porn because you've got like 1,000 channels on Netflix and you've got 1,000 channels on Sky. Literally you had like BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Channel 4, maybe.
Channel 4 launched in the 80s.
Yeah, and then obviously
launched in the 80s.
And that was it. Literally, that was it.
Yeah, I remember 3 channels.
Yeah, so and obviously my mum was like, "Yeah, Magnum's on," and I think that I want to say that was a Saturday night as well. Whether it replaced another program or Baywatch replaced that or whatever, I can't remember. But it was, yeah. You got Higgins and then the 2 Doberman dogs. I remember them. And you got obviously the car, you know.
Ferrari GTO, was it?
Yeah. Like red, just he's literally just getting it in the start scene. He just little skid and then pull off, and you're like, oh yes, oh yes. But again, they did a remake of that, and it was a bit like, okay,
you can't do it, can you?
No. And again, my Miami Vice, Don Johnson. I genuinely don't remember the name of the other guy that was in it, but Crockett and Tubbs obviously were the characters.
Yeah. And he had, again, it was another Ferrari, and that was, yeah.
Was it white or silver? He
had a white Testarossa in the later series. He started off with like a brown one in the first series, I'm sure he did. But that white Testarossa, oh yeah, I love the Ferrari Testarossa. I'm not, back in the day when I was a kid growing up, I loved Italian supercars, and still now, that Testarossa is something else. I've, there's a guy with one locally around here, and I've only ever seen it on the road once. And I pulled up against the lights, and it just, he floored it for it. And it's like, gee whiz.
It's weird, though.
I nearly caught him in my Mariva.
For the first half a second.
That's why I drove off.
But it's weird because like my Miami Vice back in the day, obviously you had like the silver suits, and you had the suits that were like the arms were pushed up, and you wore like, it's just brilliant. And I'm doing a disservice to the other guy, but yeah, Don Johnson was just class. There was one that Jenny mentioned, my wife. She said she grew up watching was Chips, which was the guys on the motorcycle. So
Poncherelli.
Was it California Highway
Patrol,
whatever it was. Yeah, and she said, that was, she really enjoyed that, and she said that was one of the things that they watched growing up. So just honestly, I could talk about the 80s TV for hours, and I genuinely for hours. Brilliant.
I've got a few more that weren't mentioned.
Go on.
So Married with Children.
Oh my life.
It wasn't one I watched then. I watched this in like early 2000s, like reruns and stuff like that. But, is it Ted Bundy? Was it that is the dad's name? Or
Al Bundy.
Al Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy was 2 episodes ago, dude. Yeah, don't get those two confused or whatever it was.
He's just a deadpan actor. He's brilliant.
Nice.
And a one-time Pittsburgh Steeler. Did you know that?
Really?
Ed O'Neill was he was drafted. I think it was a quarterback position for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but banged it. I forget it was.
Big Ben got drafted instead of him.
I know Pet's been around a few years, but not that many years. He got drafted to the Steelers, but he didn't cut it. Injury, I think it was back or knee injury, or whatever. All those shoes he was putting on, he must have done one of his knees when he was bending down, putting them on.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Steeler, one-time Steeler.
You couldn't do that show nowadays, because if you watch some of the clips of him like insulting people, like there's some like big woman and he's there like putting her shoes on. She goes, I'm really swelling up this time of year. He goes, yeah, you're swelling up everywhere, aren't you? It's just like, I was like, what?
Well, the thing is though, like back in the day, obviously, none of the current sort of PC where you've got, you've got to. You've got to make sure that you don't offend, this person or this person or this person. Back in the day, we didn't know that, so it was just effectively it's just harmless TV fun. It was funny. You laughed at it. People laughed at it.
I think a lot of it was harmless, and there's nothing wrong with offending people. If you're offended by it, what? I'm sorry, but don't listen to it. That's the bottom line, isn't it? Some of it, you know what I mean? Like when you look at like the racist British TV that we used to have. Yeah, I'm not going to say that wasn't wrong, because it was.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other stuff, it's like, if you're a little bit upset by it, then don't watch it, because that's just the nature of the beast. Just enjoy it, and if you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. Find someone else to watch.
Yeah. But and again, whether or not it was, you were naive, but it wasn't really ever anything that came into conversation. So you'd just watch it and you would laugh. It actually was funny. Whereas now, you'd laugh at something, you'd be like, oh, should I be laughing at that? Because I might offend this person or this person or this. And it's almost like you second guess yourself to laugh. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, you'd be like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, no doubt, if you went Dukes of Hazzard or you went A-Team or you went Magnum or you went one that I haven't mentioned, the Knight Rider, which was, by the way, brilliant. You could pick holes in each of them and go, well, you can't watch that these days because of X, Y, and Z. And you're like, really? They were just harmless TV shows. Yeah. Really, really harmless TV shows.
There's a lot of it now where you backtracking and we can't show that TV show anymore because this is like, what, really? Different times back then. There was a level I would say of innocence about a lot of it for the most part. Some of it not, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But no, it was. I mean, I'm gonna sort of moving on from the sort of. I mean, obviously, my list there was massively influenced by sort of American drama series, if that's the right phrase. Notable mentions: Heart to Heart, Dynasty, Dallas. Those type of programs that were just horrendous, but actually, you just watch them because that's what you did when you were growing up.
We John, who listened, my brother, he'd listen to this podcast. You wouldn't think it, but he was a huge Dynasty fan, and one of his favourite characters from there was Dexter. And when we were talking about names for Jacob, Kim said, "Oh, do you know what? I really like the name Dexter." It's like, well, it's just remember that dude from Dynasty.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
Dexter. I'll be thinking Dexter Fletcher or whatever. Was he a kid? In fact, he must have been around in the. Was it? I want to say press gang, but it might not be that. And Dexter, if you listen, I apologise. I'm sure there's an actor called Dexter Fletcher. He was maybe a kid actor that then went anyway. That's a bit of a left turn. But I don't know.
Well, two of the US shows then.
Cool.
Roseanne.
Oh
yeah. I put Tales of the Crypt down as well.
Okay.
Used to watch like a lot of late night Channel 4 like horror films and stuff like that. Yeah, they had some good shows on there and good films.
Yeah, there was one show as well that we used to watch as a kid, and I don't know if this is 70s or 80s because it's just come to me now that I haven't included in my list. Tales of the Gold Monkey, and that was, it was basically some dude flying around in a plane that landed, one of those ones that lands on water, and his dog, I remember his dog had one eye or something, you know what I mean? And it was always pulling out his false eye for no reason or something. We'll put a gem in there.
That rings a bell.
It was bizarre.
I can't. I do remember that, but I don't know what the premise of the show was and what they were trying to find or get or do. But I do remember that. There's just another couple for me. Cheers.
Yeah.
And then Hill Street Blues.
Never a fan of Hill Street Blues, although
loved it.
The opening music was timeless.
And that, I think that's why. Dun, 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 dun. And then obviously got Cheers, which is You Wanna Go.
Oh, was that not Cheers you just did?
He's always a comedian. You should be stage issue some guy.
But no, Cheers. Cheers, I got into. Like, I didn't watch it in the 80s, but nowadays, if it's on, and I think it's on one of the channels, I'll stick it on. I can watch it for hours.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And was it Woody Harrelson? Was he the bar? Brilliant. And obviously, he went on to, I say, bigger and better things as such. And that's where I don't know whether that was one of his first gigs, but that's where he sort of cut his teeth as such. But
I think it was
Ted Danson and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Kirstie Alley.
Brilliant. Yes. Although, did she get replaced by?
She did. I'm not going to remember the lady's name, but if you watch Modern Family, it's Ed O'Neill's first wife, and that's she also plays in that. Just to link those two together.
I can't remember. Who what her name was, but yeah, they were. again, they were brilliant. But I think more because the theme tune for Hill Street Blues was just classic, and the theme tune to Cheers was classic. But they were two that sort of resonated with me, just trying to remember back to what I watched. But again, that was a family thing. That might not have just been me. That was my mum, my dad, Sid, and that's what we used to watch, sort of thing. So yeah, that resonated. Just a couple there, just to throw them in. Just trying to think there. They didn't make my list when I was doing my research and stuff, but just throw them in now.
Okay, so game shows. I've wrote a few down, but I don't know whether they were the 80s. Bullseye,
Bullseye.
It was the 80s because that's on my list.
And I still love it. I'll watch it on YouTube now. It's still like all the dress sense and hairstyles is incredible. And you can win all the prizes. Like you look at them now, you're like a toaster, a cuddly toy, and all this stuff's like wow.
No, mate, the best thing was that it'd be like "I'm Bully special prize," and you cut it's like caravan, and you're like, are you having a fudging laugh? Or it'd be like a speedboat. I mean, that was the typical one. It's like a speedboat. Yeah. It's like, mate, I live on the 15th floor of a Birmingham high-rise flat. Why do we need a speedboat? I'm like 100 miles away from the nearest bit of water. It's brilliant. You got the latest frying pan.
Television.
Yeah, and actually, the roller cola drinks machine. Like, really. But honestly, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Big Grey. If you're listening, if you haven't listened, I hope you do. Big Grey, who my old man is Jim Bowen, just full stop. So, fact, loves his darts and looks a bit like him as well. So,
looks a lot like him.
He should do your scoring for your next world record attempt thing.
Yeah, keep me away from the bar. But I had Bullseye noted down in my notes from an earlier episode we did, maybe about 2 or 3 back, interestingly enough, when I was mentioning serial killers. Yeah. John Cooper, who appeared on the show as a contestant, was later he was in the middle of his serial killer run when he appeared on Bullseye as a contestant.
Really?
He committed 2 double murders beforehand and 2 double murders afterwards. Yeah, honestly, both of those in the 80s, and then he was later convicted for 2 counts of sexual assault. After being recognised on Bullseye, the photo fit, they actually recognised him whilst he was on Bullseye. Yeah, and he was serving time for that and 30 cases of burglary. And while he was in, obviously DNA evidence sort of stepped up a little bit, and that's when they picked him up on the mass murders as well. So yeah, he committed 4 murders, and he was a contestant on that. And actually, you talk about watching it on YouTube, Andrew. There's actually a fairly decent documentary about the guy on YouTube that's worth watching, and about his time on
UK's dumbest criminals.
Yeah, it's along those sort of lines.
Yeah. Wow. There's a big break because I don't know if that was end of the 80s, I think.
Jim Davidson, wasn't it? And Jim Davidson. I forget. Tony Virgo was the guy when he
shit shots.
Snooker You Tonight or whatever it was. Is that what? I don't know. I'm all about theme tunes. Honestly, it's proper nostalgic. It taking me back. I mean, there's a couple of I thought game shows. So Going for Gold with Henry Kelly.
Classic daytime fodder.
Literally, like, and you got contestants from different countries, and they were sat on this like I don't know, podium or whatever, and it was like Erica from Finland. And you're like, really? Yeah, proper archetypal, stereotypical. You got like I don't know, Hamish from Scotland. And you're like, can you seriously pick another name or another guy that's stereotypically from that place? But yeah, Going for Gold was one. Strike It Lucky. Do you remember Strike It Lucky? You got Michael Barrymore. Do you remember that? You got all the TV. You got like the sort of line of the TV, the sort of screens and stuff. And
I've been watching that on YouTube as well, and it's quite cringy. Some of the stuff he comes out with. It is
horrendous.
But it's a good show though.
He's done a lot worse than that, actually.
Yeah, we won't go into
Allegedly.
that podcast. Allegedly. Yeah, don't sue us. There was one, it was quite heartwarming, actually, and there was an elderly couple, and I mean very elderly couple, and if you ever get a chance to watch it, it's a brilliant piece of TV, and this guy, the contestant, I don't know, but he must be like 90 or 95 or something. And he got his wife next to him. He's like, "Oh, how long have you been together?" And he's like, 2 years. Michael Bachman was like, "What? Like, how does that work?" Sort of thing. Yeah. Are you expecting to say like 75 years or something? And literally, he's like, "So how did you meet?" And "Oh, she looks after me." And he's like, "Well, fair play." And it's just a golden piece of TV. It's absolutely harmless. If you do get a chance to watch it on YouTube, it honestly, it's brilliant. Just go watch it. And
is he the one that struggles to hear? So like Michael has to keep repeating the question, but then he just tells him the answer.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Please don't die on me," or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, I'm feeling awful." He's like, "Don't die," sort of thing. And this guy's like ancient. This oh, bless him. And they come across like it's brilliant. It's just again just harmless fun. So that was a sort of TV, and then I wanted to say Catchphrase, the original one, but I don't know whether it was the 80s or not.
Oh,
and I didn't. It wasn't on my. And then Blockbusters was that?
Yeah. Blockbusters definitely was the 80s because there was a couple of girls from our school went on it, didn't they? Was it Kay Adams and Sarah Jo Rogers went on there?
Yeah, remember? Yeah, so that must have been the 80s, surely. So
yeah,
Catchphrase was 86.
Yeah.
With
So
Roy
Walker, say what you see. It's good, but it's not right. And you just like, yeah, thanks, Roy.
he pops up on Chris Moyles' forgot what it's called. Is it X Radio?
Yeah.
He pops up on there like, and they do like a little car park catchphrase something. That's pretty good. You're right. Like, comes out of all. Like, I've got a really obscure show. I don't know if you guys will remember it, but I used to love it as a kid. Cyberzone. I had to Google the name because I couldn't remember what the show was called, but it was Craig Charles. And it was a show where you'd have one person on like a treadmill and then another person would be like in this little chair and they're guiding like an avatar. So like one person's like running in this game and the other person's driving a tank. They've got to try and the tank's got to try and find that person. I used to love it as a kid. And like looking at your faces, oh yeah, you remember that, don't you?
Yeah, I think this might be one. Yeah, this might be when we wait for the Dream episode.
Oh, we're not doing a Dream episode. Honestly, I don't remember the name because I was Cyberzone, but I just remember the show.
That must be very obscure. Actually, if there's anybody listening who remembers it, get in touch. Let's know it's not just Andy. Yeah,
you and me.
I'm not.
Do you remember the old Windows 95 screensaver where there's a maze, and it used to just like go through this little maze and all that? You don't remember that? Oh. Waste on the graphics are really bad. It's like really because it's in the 80s, obviously. You just Google it. It's worth it.
I remember the other one. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to say it must have been late 80s. What was the one, dude, where they used to guide the person wearing a helmet through?
Dungeon Master or something like that.
Nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Nightmare.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, that.
And then the other one was it the Adventure Game? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And then you had was it Argonauts, or was the money? And you basically, I suppose that was that precursor to Crystal Maze, maybe. And you used to have to play these games and earn money, and then you got the vortex. That was the end. You got like this matrix, and you had to move, and then the vortex moved, and then you moved, and if it caught you, you were out, sort of thing. Wow. But that was the Adventure Game, I think, wasn't it?
But yeah, the Krypton Factors one you just brought up there, dude. That's one I ain't written down, but that was an absolute.
I've got that on my list.
That was a gem. You watch that. Oh, basically they're doing all the quizzes, they're doing all the puzzles. Like, come on, get the assault course on. That's the one we all want to see.
when I was making my list, I typed in Krypton Factors. Literally, there was a link that came up. Solve the quiz. Get them on the course, and you really just like that's what you're waiting for. You're like watching some real pompous ass that was like dead clever, basically like hanging out of his arse as he's trying to get over this wall or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just that brilliant. Brilliant TV.
They did like redo it, didn't they? For was it like one season or something like that? Maybe 10 years ago, or something like that. It's wasn't the same without the same presenter.
No,
Gordon Burns, who used to do Northwest Tonight for us, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But and that was one that Krypton Factor and he always used to get like the was it the observation round, and they'd play this clip, and you'd be like watching, be like, so the guy in the background, what colour was his shirt? You're like, I don't know. Literally, I have like no clue. And then they do some sort of weird like intelligence round. You're like, don't know that either. And then they got to the obstacle course. You're like, I reckon I could do that.
Yeah, I couldn't.
But then in reality, you'd be like, actually, I've got no chance of doing the obstacle course at all, because I'd get to that the first one and not be able to jump over the wall. And you'd be like, yeah, I'll take that. That's fine. But yeah, that made my list actually. Krypton Factor. That was one that we did genuinely watch.
Yeah, it's decent. I did put Crystal Maze down, but I couldn't remember when that was.
Yeah, was it because they've done a couple of sort of remakes. That was, I want to say Richard O'Brien was the original one. Was he the original host? Was he? Yeah, but I don't know when it was. I don't know whether it was 80s or not. So
yeah, it's better than new ones. Like that Richard Ayoade, I'm not a fan of his.
Oh, I like Richard Ayoade. I quite like him on that as well.
Excuse my ignorance. Is he the HSBC guy?
That's the fella.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know you mean now. Yeah.
1990. Richard O'Brien was the original one.
Oh, was it really?
Oh, 1990.
Oh, scratch it. Sorry,
scratch it off the list.
Then it was Edward Tudor Pole.
I don't remember
him?
No.
Yeah, or 93 to 95. I'm saying here. He had black hair and all that.
No, I don't remember that.
He was all right. You can't beat Richard O'Brien though.
No.
No.
That was the best one. That was the original one. I mean, one I've got on my list here, which goes back to my sort of Marvel loving sort of superhero days, was the Incredible Hulk. So and it's funny because obviously when his eyes used to go, it'd be like the music, and then he'd be triggered. That was sort of a phrase that Sid used to always. He's triggered, and then it'd be like his eyes, and you were like, "Oh, hide behind a sofa," because he's going to change. Then he burst out of his sort of clothes and so that was one that.
Bill Bixby.
Yeah, was it? Not the Lonely Man, Wandering Man.
Yeah, something
like that.
It's a great piece of music. It's a great piece of music.
I always think of Stewie from Family Guy doing it at the end of one of them episodes. So, yeah. There's Lou Ferrigno as well as the actual Hulk on it, and he was massive.
Yeah, beast of a guy. Absolute beast of a guy.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
I tell you one TV show we haven't mentioned, I actually wrote to it twice as a child. I enjoyed it that much. Tomorrow's World.
I thought you said Blue Peter, but okay.
No, I never wrote to Blue Peter. And I wrote. I've got 2 letters tucked away somewhere from the BBC. When I took the time to write to Tomorrow's World to share. One of them was to share a theory about one of the I think it was the Beast of Bodmin Moor. And my theory was something like a Black Panther had escaped from a zoo and mated with a domestic cat, which I'm going to say, looking back on it now, is quite unlikely. And that was to be fair, some guy took the time to write back to me. Yeah. That was a pretty sucky job, obviously, that guy had in the BBC.
He's like, thank you, Adam, for your correspondence. Whilst we take on board your opinions, we do not share this, and unfortunately, your story will not be shared on our TV program. Thanks. Bill or whatever it's I'm making that up, you know what I mean? You'd be like, yeah, what a great job that is.
You ever write into any TV shows? I know I haven't.
No, but I know that both of my daughters have written into Blue Peter to try and get a Blue Peter badge, just because you get money off entrance to theme parks.
So you put your kid's name on a letter.
Yeah, Gaz has written it.
There was one, and this is going back in the 70s, and it probably wouldn't be the case now. I do remember thinking, should I write to Jim or fix it?
Yeah,
and obviously, literally, you were like, should I? Dear Jim, please can you fix it for me to play a round of golf with Nick Faldo? He is a real hero of mine.
Don't start with play around the Jim. Jesus.
and obviously now everything that's come out, you'd be like, oh my God, sort of thing. But yeah, that was it. I didn't, but that was the one that potentially I would have done, would be Jim will fix it. And genuinely, I did. Obviously, growing up, obviously I play a lot of golf and stuff, and Nick Faldo was brilliant. So that was one that I actually thought I would write to him. I didn't. And now everything has come out of the wash. I'm in a way thankful that I didn't. But yeah. What about you then, Andy? Have you written to one or?
That's not right. No, I think I don't know. You used to see like a lot of shows where they read out kids' letters, and I did think, should I do it? And I was not bothered.
The one that you should. It wasn't letters. It's more pictures. Was it the gallery? What was it?
Tony Hart.
Tony Hart. Yeah. What was that program called? Was it
Heart Attack?
No.
Was it?
No.
No. That was.
That was Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil Buchanan.
And then I was thinking Heart to Heart, but that was something completely different.
Yeah. It would have livened it up a bit, to be fair. We're going back to Morph again, aren't we? Whatever that was called. If we're talking about writing in, I'm going to share this one. It isn't 80s, I apologise. It is 90s. But it's Saturday morning TV, so it might have been SMTV or something like that. And there was something like Daring Wearing, where you had to draw a cartoon for what he was going to do next, and Kim won it about 4 times. She had a name read out, like when she'd drawn it in, she won a bouncy castle, she won loads of stuff like that. She sent it in, and literally, even if she didn't win it, she had a name read out about 2 or 3 other times as well. Honestly, she was like, that is her claim to fame. But obviously, it wasn't 80s, so we'll have to scratch that.
Yeah, scratch it.
Yeah, scratch it. Take it. We'll edit it out.
Well, on that note, we've done an hour. So,
well, I'm just trying to think.
We've done an hour without mentioning Grange Hill, Jossie's Giants, the young ones, bit of Fry and Laurie.
You can't really see that, but I have got Grange Hill written sort of there, which was run over Zamo, and just Grange Hill was back in the day was amazing.
I remember the tune for that as well.
Yeah, no, really. Jossie's Giants. Was that Newcastle? Was it Jossie's Giants? That set in Newcastle.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, actually, I remember watching that. Now you mentioned it. What was the one you said? Grange Hill, Jossie's Giants, and
the young ones. Was early 80s. Then you got a bit of Fry and Laurie. I love that as well. This is David Landry was probably my obscure one that I used to enjoy, which again was Stephen Fry, where he basically did like a Peter Cook report, which basically ended up getting beat up every episode, and he was going and doing his door-to-door reporting, his roving reporter, and they only ever did one series. I was gutted when that one didn't get renewed. I love that.
So I suppose you look at something like Only for Fools and Horses, is it Open All Hours? You could go like, was it?
I love Open All Hours.
Yeah, so you look at stuff like that.
We
didn't really go into the Britcom, did we?
No, I think it probably shows how like our sort of the UK is. It's quite US orientated, isn't it? With a lot of the shows and music and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. I know certainly growing up. As I say, born in 73, so 1987 years old. 80s TV was heavily influenced by America. So just the shows that I've got on my list: A-Team, Knight Rider, Magnum, Miami Vice, Dukes of Hazzard, Chips, Fall Guy. Literally American TV.
Well, go on, Andy. Andy had a fact to share there, and I want to hear it before I got one last TV show that I want to share, because I just realised I've missed it off, and I love it, dude. You about something being filmed somewhere?
Oh yeah, that Open All Hours. My mate lived for a few years around the corner from where that was filmed in Doncaster,
Is it Doncaster? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And it's just it was a hairdresser's now. So like they redid it like 5 or 10 years ago, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when he lived there when they were redoing it, and it was it's hairdressers, and then they put it back into that shop for that new show. Like,
Oh, so it was still open all hours. That was cool, wasn't it?
yeah.
The other one I want to mention, it's actually based on a couple of books by Sue Townsend. The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole. Have you ever watched that, Andy?
I'm going to Google it.
I tell you what, I recently, it's a couple of years ago now, I bought it on DVD and I watched that and I watched The Growing Pains. And there's so much stuff in there that I remember that actually isn't in there. So that obviously I've watched the TV show with Jan Schumacher, and I've gone right back and read those books so many times. And then I imagine this guy doing it, the different things that are in the book. And then when I watch it on TV, it's like half of it's missing. I don't know, maybe a DVD missing out my set or what, I don't know. There was only 6 episodes, so there's only 12 episodes of that, and that is fantastic. And that for me sums up about life growing up in the 80s. It's so beautifully written. To think that it's written by a woman sort of 10, 20 years older than being a teenage boy at the time. Very, very clever writing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've mentioned pretty much everything that I put on my list, but I probably could have gone another 5, 10 different programs. So RoboCop, and you talk about that, and all, just films for the 80s we haven't mentioned, and
yeah, that's been another show.
Yeah.
Come back next time.
That's it. Next time on Soulboy Radio.
So we've done the hour now. So should we just jump in to say our goodbyes?
Yep. Who wants to go first? So shall I go first? Can I go first?
Yeah, you go first. No,
I want to give somebody a shout out as well. So it's they're local to us, Gaza. Live around the corner. Kids Grove and All Sager Eats. So if you're local to All Sager, if you're listening to this podcast, then give these guys a look up. Check. You can download their app from the App Store, and there's a number of takeaways that you can order from. So not only that, they also do something called Anglesey Sweet Treats. So you can order sweets and drinks to be delivered to your door. And if you spend over £20 on the sweets, the delivery is free. I'm not so sure about all the takeaways, but to be fair, we're coming to the end of lockdown, but I always admire people's being innovative and trying to make themselves money on the side. So hopefully that's going to be successful. So I'd like to wish them all the success. They recently started following us on Instagram, so I was chatting with them and I said I'd give them a shout out. So just fulfilling my obligations. And on that note, I will say goodbye.
Gaz, if you're not frozen.
I think Gaz is frozen. I thought he's either very disgruntled by that shout out or he's frozen. Do you want to do a shout out for him?
Shout out to Lef for bringing so much good beer. No, I think I've not really been on Twitter much lately, so I'm never on Twitter much anyway, but I know I've not really been on it much these last few days. Instagram's where I'm at, the gram life. But no, it's been a good episode. I'll say goodbye for him. Goodbye.
Cheers. We'll see you again.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.